Hello everybody, I am back today with just a short little video. I want to talk a little bit about, mainly about the fact that I've had some planner fatigue for the past couple of months, which is why I haven't had any videos or anything like that. And when I get planner fatigue, there's a couple things that I will do. Sometimes I will just step away from, the journal completely, or more often it is that I realize I haven't used it and I realize I'm in planner fatigue because I haven't used it. Another solution for me when I get planner fatigue is to just simplify my process for a few days until I can kind of get back into it. And usually what that involves is it involves going to just my regular kind of calendar, the standard kind of bullet journal calendar thing here. And then I just start using this for a few days for my to-dos and what I've got to do. And when I cut out everything that's not essential and really streamline it in that way, I generally speaking will, after a few days, kind of get back into using my planner and using my to-do lists and everything the way that I'm supposed to do for my project planning. But this time I noticed there were a few things that were just kind of getting on my nerves, and it decided it was time to streamline. And that's another one of my solutions when I do get a little bit of planner fatigue, is to just streamline, because it usually means that now something isn't working for me quite as effectively as it was before. So I took a look at what wasn't working and I made a few little changes based on that. So I'm going to show you, this is my June 2018 setup. So we've got the, the standard calendar view, and that really hasn't changed from what I was doing before. So here's in January, and this is what I would do before. I would have this, but then I would have a whole sheet for the tasks and everything. And what I decided was, part of the reason for this was that I was having a lot of empty space, like you see with this every month. And I decided that I really didn't need to have all of that wasted space. So here is where I put my monthly goals that get broken down, further. And here's where I put my tasks. And another thing that I was doing, and I'll show you on this, is I had this flip out that I told you about before, and that really made me excited for a few months. I was super excited to use it and get my little hands on it. And then I just kind of got bored with it, and it got kind of annoying having to, washi tape in a new one every couple of days. So I decided, I'm just going to use a little Post-it. And then every day I can do, look at what my top priorities are, make sure I've got all my top priorities set, and then boom, it's gone. And I always keep, I've shown you before, I always keep some Post-its here. So I always have another little one that I can just, get rid of this, get the next one, go. I don't have to flip, I don't have to back and forth. I can just grab this and go, in my weeklies and do whatever setup I need to do. So to me, I think that is a nice little more streamlined solution that's going to help me out with that. So I combined those two pages. Another change I made that made a big difference for me was I looked over my tracker and all of the stuff that I used to have on my tracker. So I used to have every single one of these lines filled, and that takes a while, which is great when you need it and when you're using it and when it's useful for you. But there were a few things that I noticed. Last year, one of my goals was to exercise a bit more and to, walk more and that kind of thing. And over the course of the year, I got into the habit of walking every single day. And now I'm also doing yoga 3 times a week. So, and that's just the thing that I do now. So there's not really any need for me to track it, because it's not one of these things that I'm still trying to build the habit. So there were a few things like that that I just got rid of, that because they were just taking time to fill in every night, which was adding to the time it was taking my process and making me a little bit more fatigued about using it. So this will be a little bit more effective, I think, for, it'll just be a little bit faster, track the things I really need to track. I am keeping a full page for memories, because I really do like that kind of journaling side of being able to, stick tickets or whatever you want to here for that. I'm also a scrapbooker, and one of these days I tell myself that I will take like the memorabilia that I put on here and then make a scrapbook page for each month in the year. And maybe I will do that and maybe I won't. But one of the cool things about having it here is if I don't, I don't. I still have it preserved. All right, so then my weeklies are pretty much the same as what I had before. So I've got the space for my weekly goals. I've got a space to make sure that I am not, because I work at home a lot, not holding myself up and forgetting about the rest of humanity. And then also making sure I do self-care. That's really important. And then to review every week. These I use for, this is usually my Safeway grocery list, and this is usually my Costco grocery list. And I always like to have just a little bit of a, saying to kind of focus me on what's important. And then I have, every day where I put my daily breakdowns from, I have my monthly goals, which I break down into my weekly goals, what I can accomplish in a week. And then I make sure every day I'm making progress towards those. I also put, you know, my normal typical daily to-do. And now I will use this little thing right here to make sure that I'm doing everything I need to do and putting them in the right priority. So that's it for my monthly tracking. Everything else in my other stuff is the same. But there are two other additions that I made. I mentioned in one of my previous videos that this year I was setting kind of an informal fun goal of myself to try one new recipe per week in 2018. And I had mentioned, you know, I'm not sure what kind of spread to do for that. And somebody said, why don't you just list them? And that was a really good idea. And, you know, that's what I do is I think my bullet journaling is fairly minimalist. And sometimes I get so caught up in, oh, let's do a cool spread, that I start to second guess myself and undercut myself. And really, this is all I need. So I have a column for the recipe I tried out, a column for the results. Did I like it? What would I do differently? Would I just not make it at all? And you can see I should probably be at about 26 recipes, right? Because we're coming up on the 26th week. So I'm a little bit behind, but pretty much I feel like I've done pretty good with this. I'm pretty much, you know, keeping up with what I wanted to do. And then also there are a few things in here like the strawberry rhubarb pie and the cioppino that I've made a couple of times, making sure that I'm getting the recipe kind of where I want it to be. So maybe that's kind of a cheat. It's not a new recipe any week, but if you count that, then I'm kind of close. And then the last thing I wanted to show you was this is, I'm not the first person. There's a number of bullet journaling videos that have this. We're putting in an envelope that you either make yourself or that you just tape in, like I did, like just literally taped in with the washi tape, the envelope. A lot of what I do involves reading and keeping up on certain kinds of literature. And I use the library because if I didn't, I would be spending way more money than I can afford on books that I'm only going to read once, and in a lot of cases not even finish because I don't, you know, I get what I need, like studying the beginning of it. Because my eyes are always bigger than my stomach, even when it comes to reading. I always check out more than I can do before they're due. So then I have to turn them back in, and this reminds me of what it was that I had that I need to get again. So I like to keep those receipts so I know when I need to pull some more books, I've got them right there. So I created that, and I think everybody, like every one of us could use, we've got something in our lives that we need to track this way, whatever it is. And although this does have these cool little pockets up here, and I definitely use that for other things, there's so many of these and I'm going in and out with them so much that this seemed to be a more effective way. So there you go. Like I say, just a little short video this time to show you just some streamlines, some changes I made that for things that weren't working and that I was making a little bit too complicated, and some thoughts about what I do when I start to get the planner fatigue when it sets in. Because I feel like, you know, one of the big strengths of the bullet journal method is you can change it as you go. And if you're finding yourself like bored and not excited to get into your bullet journal, then that's just silly and it's time to change it. And the changes I've made are not big, but they were big enough that they made it so I'm more excited about getting in. And it doesn't feel like, you know, like especially with the tracker, it doesn't feel like a big task to fill this out every day. It feels like now it's a quick little thing that I can do again. So sometimes those simple little changes, you know, can, I think, make a big difference when you are getting stuck in that planner fatigue kind of mode. So, all right, that's all I have for today. I hope you guys are doing well, and I will see you soon. Bye.